Hello and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. The Osbourne House Cryptic Cipher. Holly had always been drawn to mysteries, the allure of the unknown pulling at her like a magnetic force. So when she stumbled upon the ancient crypt hidden beneath Osbourne House on the Isle of Wight, her curiosity ignited like never before. The crypt, shrouded in darkness and secrecy, seemed to call out to her, beckoning her to unravel its enigmatic secrets. As a seasoned cryptographer, Holly felt a rush of excitement at the prospect of deciphering the cryptic messages etched into the weathered stone walls. She carefully examined each symbol, each curve and line, determined to unlock the mysteries that lay hidden within. Weeks passed, and Holly devoted herself entirely to the task at hand. Her days blurred together as she pored over ancient texts and consulted with experts in the field. And finally, after countless hours of painstaking work, she pieced together the cryptic cipher. But as the last line of the message fell into place, a chill crept up Holly's spine. The words she had deciphered were not simply a message, they were a summoning spell, invoking an otherworldly presence that hungered for the souls of the living. Terrified yet undeterred, Holly knew she had to confront the entity she had unwittingly unleashed. Armed with only her wits and a flickering torch, she descended once more into the depths of the crypt. The air grew thick with foreboding as Holly ventured further into the darkness, the weight of her discovery pressing down upon her like a suffocating shroud. And then, as she reached the heart of the crypt, she saw a shadowy figure lurking in the shadows, its eyes burning with an insatiable hunger. With a start, Holly realized the true extent of her folly. She had awakened something ancient and malevolent, something that should have remained dormant for eternity. And now, faced with the embodiment of her own curiosity, she knew there was no escape. As the entity advanced towards her, its form twisting and contorting with each step, Holly fought to steady her trembling hands. She desperately searched for a way to banish the creature back to the depths from whence it came. And then, in a moment of clarity, it came to her the cryptic cipher held the key to her salvation. With a trembling voice, she recited the words of the summoning spell in reverse, each syllable a prayer for deliverance. For a fleeting instant, the darkness seemed to waver, the entity recoiling as if struck by an invisible force. And then, with a deafening roar, it was gone, vanishing into the abyss from which it had emerged. Exhausted and shaken, Holly emerged from the crypt, the weight of her ordeal heavy upon her shoulders. But though the nightmare was over, she knew she would never forget the terror that lurked within the depths of the Osbourne House cryptic cipher. In the days that followed, Holly couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered within her. The memory of the otherworldly presence she had encountered in the crypt haunted her every waking moment, casting a shadow over her once insatiable curiosity. Despite her best efforts to move on, the events at Osbourne House continued to plague her thoughts. She found herself consumed by a newfound fear of the unknown, second-guessing every decision and doubting every discovery. But as the weeks turned into months, Holly gradually began to regain her confidence. She threw herself into her work, throwing caution to the wind and seeking out new challenges with an almost reckless abandon. Yet no matter how hard she tried to bury the memories of that fateful day, they remained etched into her mind like a scar upon her soul. And try as she might, she could never shake the feeling that the entity she had banished from the crypt still lingered in the shadows, waiting for the opportunity to strike once more. Then, one night, as Holly sat alone in her study, poring over a particularly perplexing puzzle, she heard it a soft whispering, like the rustling of leaves on a moonlit night. Her blood ran cold as she realized the source of the sound of the cryptic cipher she had thought long forgotten, its words echoing through the darkness like a ghostly lament. With trembling hands, Holly reached for the ancient tome that contained the cipher, her heart pounding in her chest. As she flipped through its withered pages, she felt a sense of dread wash over her, the weight of her past mistakes bearing down upon her like a crushing weight. And then, as she reached the final page, Holly's blood turned to ice. For there, etched into the faded parchment in a hand not her own, were the words of the summoning spell she had worked so tirelessly to decipher. As realization dawned upon her, Holly felt a wave of terror wash over her like a tidal wave. The entity she had banished from the crypt had returned, its hunger for her soul more insatiable than ever before. With a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach, Holly knew there was only one way to stop it. With trembling fingers, she reached for her pen, determined to rewrite the words of the summoning spell and banish the entity back to the depths from whence it came. But as she began to write, she felt a presence looming behind her, its icy breath sending shivers down her spine. With a sinking feeling in her heart, Holly knew that this time there would be no escape from the darkness that lurked within the Osbourne house cryptic cipher. As Holly's hand trembled over the parchment, she could sense the malevolent presence drawing closer, its dark energy suffocating her with each passing moment. Desperation clawed at her chest as she struggled to focus on rewriting the summoning spell, her thoughts clouded by fear and uncertainty. But just as she felt the icy grip of despair tightening around her, a flicker of determination ignited within Holly's soul. She refused to succumb to the darkness, refused to let the entity claim her as its next victim. With renewed resolve, she forced herself to block out the whispers that echoed through the room, to ignore the cold fingers that grazed her skin like the touch of death itself. And as she poured every ounce of her being into rewriting the summoning spell, a surge of energy coursed through her veins, pushing back against the encroaching darkness with a fierce determination. For what felt like an eternity, Holly battled against the forces that sought to consume her, her pen dancing across the parchment with an almost supernatural grace. And then, as she reached the final line of the spell, she felt a sudden shift in the air, a palpable sense of relief washing over her like a cleansing tide. With a triumphant cry, Holly slammed the book shut, sealing the cryptic cipher within its ancient pages once and for all. And as she collapsed to the floor, her body racked with exhaustion, she knew that she had emerged victorious against the darkness that had threatened to consume her. But even as she lay there, bathed in the soft glow of moonlight that filtered through the window, Holly couldn't shake the feeling that the battle was far from over. The Osbourne house cryptic cipher may have been sealed away, but the entity it had summoned still lurked in the shadows, biding its time until it could rise once more. And so, as Holly drifted into an uneasy sleep, she knew that she would remain ever vigilant, for the darkness that had once threatened to claim her soul still lingered just beyond the edge of her consciousness, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike again. But for now, she allowed herself to bask in the fleeting moment of victory, knowing that as long as she remained steadfast in her resolve, the light would always triumph over the darkness in the end. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had a great day.